Hey guys, welcome to Split. Today we are looking at the S24 Ultra. Best of the best, first quarter 2024. I've used this for a couple of months. I have my thoughts on some things that are fantastic, others that are kind of mid, and I think could be better. And let me just tell you my experience. Let's get into it. Okay, so before we move on, before you guys start to ask, this is the Spigen Hybrid 01 case. If you need to know, I think I will leave a link in the description below for those of you that are wondering what case I'm rocking. That's what I'm rocking. Now, moving on to the review. So let's start with the fundamental stuff, design. And no surprises here, it's pretty much the same long brick you've always had since the S22. Fundamental difference here is that they no longer have that slight curve at the edge. It's now a flat screen, which I like very much because it's very practical. No accidental inputs from side touching the edge, no edge inputs, and it's much, much easier to put a screen guard on this thing. I mean, proper screen guard, tempered glass, not that, you know, plasticky stuff you put over it. Some people like that, no beef, but that makes it a whole lot better, which I prefer. But when it comes to the body, like I said, no real difference here. Except that it's made from a titanium alloy frame. Where have I heard that before? Apple. If any fanboy throws a pillow at me, so I will take you down. But I would say Apple, but is it though, really? The first place I actually saw a titanium frame was with the Essential phone. Remember that phone, the Andy Rubin phone? That was 2017, if I'm not mistaken. And nobody cared. Maybe it was ahead of its time, maybe it was too soon, it was just weird. But I guess titanium is in now, the world is a circle, what may be old is now new. So design didn't change, but it is a big phone with a big screen, 6.8-inch AMOLED screen, and it's definitely not a one-handed phone in most situations, because reaching the top of this phone, you have to have, you know, Mr. Fantastic fingers to get up there. So most of the time, you're probably gonna be two-handed when typing, or if you had to swipe down on that control panel at the top, you're gonna use your other hand or just slide the phone down in your hand just to get to the top. That's one of the trade-offs for everything they've packed into this phone, especially the stylus. More on that later. Back to the screen though. This is Gorilla Glass Armor. Now, that sounds like a fancy sales name because it is still glass. But this has a great trick because it reduces screen glare down by 75%, which means all that refractive light you get off staring at stuff, it just almost disappears on the screen. It doesn't ruin what you're looking at. So those big bulbs you see in the corner, like you see here versus this other phone, it's a really cool effect. It's harder to show on the camera. In person, you will really appreciate looking at this screen in various light situations because there's rarely any glare that can interfere with the image you're looking at. But one of the things, the dings I think could have been better. When this phone first came out, when I got it, a couple months ago, I noticed that the screen didn't seem very vivid. I mean, it's a good screen, colorful and all, but it wasn't vivid. It wasn't as sharp as the S20 or even my Pixel phone. I thought it was me. And then I asked a friend who asked another friend, and I just went online and I found out it was a thing. It is a thing. So something was off. Samsung was trying to get it more true to life or something. So they reduced the vividness on the S24 Ultra for some reason. But they did release an update on the 22nd, I think, of February, where they added a vividness slider that helps you enhance the vividness to whatever level you want, if you want it to really pop. So if you haven't updated your phone since then, and you're having that problem, it might be time to go look for an update and then get that slider and pull it all the way. Okay, so what else is new about the screen? This thing can now hit peak brightness, peak nits of about 2,600. Not like you had problems in looking at it in direct sunlight, but now it's super bright in direct sunlight. And if you add that Gorilla Glass Armor, which reduces glare, great screen to look at in any light situation. And this is versus the 1750 on the S23 Ultra, which was the peak of that, but this just blew that out of the water. So yeah, nice to have. Software experience. One UI wasn't exactly always my favorite UI, especially where it's coming from, but I gotta admit, over the years, they have refined One UI to the point where it's just now premium. Still not my favorite though, but it's very premium, very usable. Icons can be adjusted to wherever you want them, no weird angles. You can pretty much put them wherever you want. The Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 allows the software to do some amazing things like with the video options, where in most of the native video apps, you can put a soft background if you like, or put an image, kind of like a background effect you would get off Teams and Zoom. Now that is native on this phone in terms of processing, which is not bad at all. But like I said, at some point, I'll probably put a launcher on this thing, but One UI is not bad. Okay, let's go to cameras. Cameras are good, but they weren't bad before, in my opinion. What did they do differently here? Well, they swapped out the 10 megapixel periscope telephoto with a 50 megapixel periscope telephoto. So you get better quality with the native zoom now, but yeah, other than that, no major changes in my opinion. I think they just optimized the software, and I think that those optimizations will probably show up on the S24 Ultra, but that's my opinion. The shutter speed is definitely faster. You can hit this shutter speed as many times as you want, as quickly as you want. That's the major difference I noticed from the other phone, and it'll just keep taking those shots. At least they upgraded that. But if you want a deep dive camera review pixel for pixel, there are a couple of reviews out there. One of them I enjoyed was Stephen DeVish. I will link his YouTube channel in the description below, and then you guys can check it out. Key selling point for this phone was AI. AI everywhere. AI is everywhere, so Galaxy AI was one of the things that they were super promoting on this phone. Now, some of the features I may talk about, you're going to be like, I know a phone that does that. It doesn't matter. It's really about execution. How have they implemented it in their device, right? One major one that everybody uses the most, that you probably will use the most, is circle to search. Now, circle to search, think of it as a hybrid form of image search, which you can find on other phones, but the way they've implemented it here is that the bar at the bottom of the screen, once you hold it down, it brings up the circle to search prompt. So whatever you circle, even your wallpaper, it'll do real-time search to find where it is, where you can get it, what site they're sitting on, and so on and so forth. So you can do this for sites where you want to buy a shirt, you see a picture, someone has a bag in it, circle that, you can find it. It can be in your cart in a matter of minutes. And the cool thing is, it doesn't even have to be a picture or a wallpaper or something that you have already on your phone. If you go to camera mode on this phone and just put your viewfinder towards what you're looking at and hold down that bottom screen, that bottom bar, it'll still go into circle to search mode. So you don't even have to have the image. You can use that live viewfinder and use circle to search real time. And if you have pudgy fingers and you think your circling is awful like me, you do recall there is a stylus in this thing. Yep, still here. Now, I asked most of my friends who have this device how often they use their stylus, and the answer is the same. 70–80% of the time, they do not use this stylus. But for that 20, 10, 15% of when you use it, especially if you're a note taker, you will be very grateful that this thing is here. Let's go back to more AI stuff. So in the photos, you can now edit things using AI. You can fill in a background. You can take out someone who wasn't meant to be there. If your head was too close to something, you can just literally copy and drag yourself over to as close as you want it to be. Is it perfect every time? Not really. It can be a hit or miss in some situations depending on how that photo is separated from the background. But in images that are pretty straightforward, it does the job. Like I said, have you seen this in other phones? Absolutely. But it's cool that it is here and it does work for, like I said, most of the convenient situations. And whenever you edit something with AI on this phone, it'll leave a star at the bottom of the image on the left to indicate that this image has been tampered with or edited using AI. So you know that that is not the original material. More AI stuff. It has translator built in, on the device. So you could be chatting with someone on WhatsApp in Italy or France, and the person is chatting in French, and once you select to translate, you just type in English and it'll send back the translation. Is it new? Not really, but it's so convenient the way it's made here that it'll even remember when you're chatting with that person that this was the language that you used to have that conversation, and just boot it up the minute you start that conversation. It also has it for voice translation. It has note summaries, so you could just pull up a PDF or a note and ask it to summarize it, and it will give you a concise summary using AI, which is a nifty tool to have if you want to skim something TLDR. More AI stuff. It has that Google style voice transcriber where you're talking and it's just transcribing the words. and it can tell how many different people are talking, and it can translate them in up to 13 different languages. But again, this is not perfect, hit or miss. The AI is still learning. I suspect it will get better as it progresses. So the Ultras have always been good for gaming, right? And Android emulation has come a long way. But with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, this thing is like an emulation beast now. It will emulate PS2, PSP, 3DS, Vita, Switch, GameCube, Wii, and the list goes on. As long as you have the right set of emulators. I'm not gonna point you to anything illegal because I don't wanna get banned, but you can't do that on the device. But I'm still struggling with Switch emulations though, especially with Nintendo cracking down on some famous emulators right now. So if you don't own your games, don't go pirating ROMs. Public service announcement. What else is old and new here? So the battery capacity has not changed. It's still the same. But because of I'm guessing because of the chipset, Samsung has figured out a way to optimize the thing. I'm getting 8 to 10 hours of screen time since I've been using it, which is great because I never have to worry about running out of juice between leaving the house, doing everything I want to do, and getting back in. Okay, so let's conclude this bad boy. Is it unique in every way? The answer is straight up no. It looks just like the last phone. There are slight improvements in terms of screen design, AI inside, but those tricks, I suspect with software updates, will port over to the S23 Ultra. And there is talk about Samsung charging for some of these features in the near term. In the midterm, I don't know, might not be so good for them. Maybe we're taking it wrong, but either way, they have sort of hinted that those servers cost money and they may have to charge you for those services. But I doubt that's really gonna happen given that other phones are gonna hop on this bandwagon as soon as Apple launches its next phone. It'd just be such a bad idea to try to charge for those services given that it'll be the normal thing in most devices going forward. If you have an S23 Ultra, I wouldn't advise updating at all. It's just not worth it. Your S23 Ultra is pretty solid. Even your S22 Ultra is pretty solid, to be honest. This is for those guys who are way behind in the Notes factory, that are looking just to get into the Notes, especially for the stylus experience and the note taking and it does literally does beautiful note adaptation. So it can adapt covers using AI to figure out what you've written in the notes and what it should look like. Really cool features. So all in all, great device so far. I will do a long-term review to see how it holds up. The screen has been solid. I don't have a screen guard on yet. I have dropped it twice. It hurt. Like here, it really hurt all the way to my bone. But I didn't get any nicks on the screen. I guess I got lucky. The body also seems pretty clean, maybe micro scratches. But so far so good. I'll let you guys know how it holds up. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't. I will see you guys in the next one. Take care.